I've been thinking about anger for a couple of days now. I've been sort of procrastinating about it because the more I think about it, the more complicated the topic gets. It's so multifaceted. It's not just a matter of my or your anger directed at whatever, people, places, circumstances, but anger directed at us that in turn can inspire a response of one kind or another. And you guessed it, often that response is anger. Now, is it ever called for? I think so. I think there are times where anger is appropriate. Righteous indignation is, I think, a valid concept. But we can sure use that awfully broadly and therefore sort of use it as an excuse to go off the handle on just about anything, which is certainly not a good idea. I sort of equate it with alcohol for those of you who enjoy a drink once in a while, and there's certainly nothing wrong if you don't. But under the proper circumstances, in moderation, on the right occasions, right time of day, and so on, and with proper control, I don't think a beer or wine or even a cocktail, there's anything wrong with that. It's when we get into excess that things get out of control, both with alcohol and with anger. And another thing the two things have in common is when we do get angry, it's very easily to then get more angry. Like overindulging, anger brings down inhibitions and can cause us to say and do things that we ordinarily wouldn't do, but are nonetheless very harmful, sometimes to ourselves and certainly to those that become the targets of our anger. So how do we handle that? I think in part by taking a breath. When I was involved in working with domestic violence, individuals who had been accused or admitted committing domestic violence, we talked about the reptilian brain. And that was a concept whereby the instinctive aspects of our thinking sort of overwhelm our consciousness and inspire us to take actions and say things that we otherwise wouldn't say. Now, this is not intended as an excuse, but simply as a tool or a bit of information that can help us perhaps step back from the situation that's about to set us off and think or pause enough to consider an appropriate response that falls short, certainly of violence, and possibly of getting angry at all. Again, righteous indignation has its place, but probably less common than we think as we use that as an excuse constantly that I'm entitled to be angry, I have a right to be angry, and therefore I'm going to be angry, and it's not going to be pretty. I'm going to direct that rage at others. Listen to our conversation on revenge, also on the site, and see if you don't find some common ground there as to how our anger can lead to those thoughts and actions. So let's think about how we can control situations differently rather than getting angry right off the bat, and being more honest with ourselves about those occasions when anger might be appropriate, but the greater number of occasions when it is not. Men probably struggle with this more than women, and we might use anger as a measure of our strength, of our masculinity. Honestly, the opposite is true. Think about this. If we have great self-control, that is a true measure of strength. The ability to reason our way through situations that make us angry, whether it is something that fell off the shelf, someone who cut us off in traffic, the words or actions of someone else, a betrayal perhaps, firing, whatever it might be that can make us angry. If we think for a moment about why we are reacting that way, we might very well find a more suitable set of emotions to employ and save the anger for those rare occasions when it is truly called for. Thanks, and have a good day.